This is the steel giant that terrified the Wehrmacht. The Char B1 BIS, the pride of the French armored forces. A rolling fortress built to smash through enemy lines. With a hull-mounted 75mm gun and a turret-mounted 47mm cannon, it was one of the most heavily armed tanks of 1940. Its thick armor made it nearly invincible against early German weapons, shrugging off dozens of hits in battle. But its greatest weakness wasn't armor, it was complexity. A massive crew workload, expensive engineering, and slow production sealed its fate. Yet even with these flaws, the Char B1 BIS remains a symbol of French armored power, an unstoppable titan that fought to the last.
The Somua S35, France's finest medium tank and arguably the best in the world when WWII began. Fast, agile, and cast from solid steel, it outran and outgunned nearly every German panzer it faced. Its 47mm SA-35 gun was a tank killer, capable of piercing enemy armor with ease. But its one-man turret overloaded the commander, limiting its true potential. Still, the S-35 became a legend, the spearhead of the French cavalry divisions, and a machine that earned the respect of friend and foe alike.
The Renault R35 was the workhorse of the French army, the most numerous tank in the nation's arsenal. Built for infantry support, it carried thick armor for the era, but suffered from a weak 37mm gun and limited mobility. Slow, cramped, and mechanically stressed, it was never designed to fight fast blitzkrieg warfare. Yet despite its flaws, the R-35 stood firm wherever it was deployed, resisting German forces in village streets, forests, and defensive lines across France. The Renault R40 was the evolution the R-35 desperately needed. Featuring a brand-new AMX suspension and improved cross-country handling, it corrected the mobility issues of its predecessor. Its longer SA-38 gun also gave it better armor penetration. Though produced in limited numbers before the fall of France, the R40 represented the modernization the French Armored Corps was racing to achieve. The Hotchkiss H-35 was fast on roads, but notoriously hard to steer off-road. Designed for cavalry units, its thick armor gave good protection, but the early short-barrel cannon lacked power. Even so, the H-35 helped fill the ranks when more modern designs weren't available. The H-39 was everything the H-35 should have been. A stronger engine, better speed, and the powerful SA-38 gun made it a deadly threat to early German armor. This was the refined, battle-worthy version of France's light cavalry tank concept. The FCM-36 was ahead of its time. Sloped welded armor, a diesel engine, and modern construction techniques decades before they became standard. But only a few were built, making it a rare but fascinating glimpse into the future of tank design. The Panhard 178 was the crown jewel of French reconnaissance. Fast, reliable, and equipped with a deadly 25mm autocannon, it was one of the finest armored cars of the entire 1930s. Four-wheel drive gave it exceptional mobility, and its modern welded armor made it surprisingly tough for its weight. This machine formed the eyes and ears of the French cavalry divisions, scouting enemy movements, ambushing light German units, and fighting delaying actions. When France fell, the Germans captured hundreds, and even they continued using it. Few vehicles earned respect on both sides of the war. The Panhard 178 did. The AMR-33 was designed to be a lightning-fast scout, a tiny tracked reconnaissance tankette that could race ahead of the main force. It was nimble, lightweight, and quick, but mechanically fragile. Still, its speed and small silhouette made it ideal for hit-and-run recon missions. The AMR-33 represents France's early effort to build a mobile cavalry screen before blitzkrieg changed the rules forever. The AMR-35 was everything the AMR-33 tried to be: refined, faster, and much more reliable. This was the fastest tracked vehicle in the entire French army. It could dash across open terrain, flank enemy scouts, and evade heavier units with ease. Armed with either a machine gun or a 13.2mm heavy weapon, it delivered serious firepower for its size. The AMR-35 proved that France understood mobility, even if production came too late to turn the tide.
The AMC-35 was a breakthrough, a French cavalry tank with the luxury of a two-man turret. That meant the commander could finally command, and the gunner could actually focus on shooting. Armed with a potent 47mm gun, the AMC-35 could challenge German panzers head-on. But delays, cost, and complexity limited its numbers. Even so, it showcased the future direction of French armor: better visibility, better firepower, better crew efficiency.
The AMC-34 was the predecessor to the AMC-35, an experimental cavalry cruiser produced in small numbers. Though lightly armed and underpowered, it introduced new concepts in mobility and armor layout. Used mostly in training and limited operations, the AMC-34 represents France's transitional step toward more modern cavalry tanks.
The Lafley 50 AM was a relic of an earlier era, an armored car built on a truck chassis with exposed wheels, thin armor, and a tall silhouette. But it still served, patrolling borders and securing internal areas. Its outdated design couldn't match German firepower, yet it stayed in service due to sheer necessity. The Lafley 80 AM was a powerful colonial armored car made for harsh terrain. It featured a unique rear-facing machine gun designed specifically to cover retreats in long desert engagements. This unusual feature made it one of the most distinct armored cars ever built by France. The Berlier VUDB was a true colonial warrior, a lightly armored personnel carrier designed for desert operations. Capable of transporting a full squad, it was one of the rare French APCs of the era. Simple, boxy, and reliable, it kept infantry alive in brutal heat and vast distances. Built for North Africa, these armored cars were durable, long-legged, and ideal for patrolling huge desert sectors. They weren't fast, and they weren't heavily armed, but they were extraordinarily reliable. They formed the backbone of French colonial security before World War II erupted. A surviving relic of the First World War, the white TBC armored car remained in colonial service long after it should have retired. Slow, lightly armored, but dependable, it performed police duties across North Africa and the Middle East.
In Syria, French forces improvised armor by welding steel plates onto Dodge truck chassis, creating the WWII armored car. It was crude, boxy, and far from elegant, but it worked. These vehicles show the resourcefulness of French crews when resources ran thin. The Somua MCG was the backbone of French mobile artillery. Strong, dependable, and perfectly balanced, it hauled the mighty 105mm and 155mm field guns across the battlefield. Its tracked rear gave it excellent off-road capability, while the truck-like front kept it fast on roads. Wherever French artillery thundered, the MCG was there, pulling guns into position, recovering damaged vehicles, and keeping the front line supplied. It wasn't glamorous, but it was indispensable. The Somua MCL was the brute of the French towing fleet, a heavy half-track built to pull the biggest guns France had. Slow but unstoppable, it dragged fortress artillery, siege guns, and heavy equipment through mud, sand, and forest without complaint. When the going got tough, the French army called the MCL.
The Unique P107 was fast, nimble, and everywhere. Combat engineers used it to tow anti-tank guns, haul explosives, and transport troops.
Light, quick, and easy to maintain, it became one of the most numerous French half-tracks of 1940. Its simplicity was its strength.